Samma år som Pugh Rogefeldt föddes, 1947, så föddes också David Robert Jones, också känd som David Bowie. Ja, det är nästan helt omöjligt att berätta hur mycket han har betytt för musikhistorien, både trendmässigt och genremässigt. Men för att ge ett litet tidsperspektiv så kan jag säga att den låten som vi öppnade det här reportaget med gjordes samma år som jag föddes, 1971. Så han har hållit på ett tag. Och det roliga är att det tog ett tag för Bowie själv att fatta att han har haft ett inflytande.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, and her mommy is yelling no, and her father has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen as she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view. And she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a sad thing for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools as they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. I kind of felt that immodestly that I had made some kind of change in the way that music was approached. I knew that by the early 80s. I mean, before I did things like around Scary Monsters, that period, I knew that what I'd been doing had been taken on board by quite a few other artists, and it was starting to replicate itself in different ways, you know.
Bowie har alltid gillat att göra fiktion av livet och skippat de här traditionellt självbiografiska bitarna. Vare sig det nu är att skriva text om sina kompisar som han gör nu, eller som förr när han plockade fram alter-egon som vände på verkligheten. But so why did you do it? Is it like the need to pull out different aspects of yourself or so?
Well, it was actually. I mean, when I was doing that sort of pretty much fundamentally as a character on stage, it was just more interesting. It was just more interesting. Yes, you know, it really. I was so excited, you know, but at the end of the 60s, having seen where theatre and art and all these other facets of culture could be pulled into rock that hadn't really been done before. And the idea of taking a theatrical scenario on stage with a characterization rather than playing the honest Joe guy with full of integrity and this is my life and I'll pour my heart and blue jeans and all that. I thought, well, yeah, I don't really buy that. There's something even synthetic about that. That's artificial. That has its own kind of artificiality. So why not go the entire way and create an entirely synthetic situation and see where is that interesting? There were a bunch of us at that time, like obviously like Roxy and some others to a certain extent, that I think we were aware that we had. The 70s really was the start of a pluralistic society in a major way. It was the dawn of the so-called postmodern era, and that the idea of playing with our pasts and playing with absolutes and doing a lot of what if and re-juxtaposing things against each other seemed to be part of what the future was about. And we kind of felt it very strongly then. And I think about 1972, I think we all kind of looked at each other metaphysically and said, you know what, this is the 21st century, this is how it's going to start. Yes, I think probably I'm far less ambitious than I was when I was younger, but I think that's the luggage of, I'm not sure if it's maturity, because I'm not sure how much maturity I have, but I think there's a realization that to have huge expectations of the future is probably fairly unhealthy,
that to one's psyche. And I think it's probably far more rational and in the end more fulfilling to concentrate on just the period that you're living through rather than anticipating, oh yes, and then I'll do this and then I'll do that. And then, forget about it. Just concentrate on now, today, this week, you know. That's quite enough ambition, really. So I think that one's been quite a drastic change in me. It wasn't overnight, by any means. But it might have started in the 80s, I think, when I really had to rebalance myself and decide what it was at the middle age point.
So, is it true that you wanted to quit just in that year?
I think probably, yeah. I guess there were times when I really felt that probably I'd really lost my way, that I really didn't know what I was doing anymore, and I was almost walking through music, and that was a very unsettling feeling, and I didn't like it, and I thought I'd better quit because I'm not enjoying this at all, and it just turned around on me, you know, and then things changed again. And I started to look for what it was that I really enjoyed about music, and that meant getting very small again and getting rid of that whole arena, stadium-y kind of thing that I'd seemed to have found myself within and doing the most ridiculous thing, which is try and put myself in a band, which for me worked, you see. I mean, there's been so much debate about poor old Tin Machine, about whether they were good or bad. You know, that's almost not the point. The point was I actually needed to do that.
To break it down.
Yeah, it was very important.
A sense of self-mockery, wherever did that spring from?
It's kind of a British thing. To replace our sense of aloofness, I think that we tend to get kind of derisory about things and kind of joke about them, you know. And but I always find it in the best work. I find this is.
If you look at other new bands like Suede, for example, do you go like, oh my God, these guys have been listening to Diamond Dogs and Ziggy or whatever? You know, your own influence?
Yeah. I have to say that I feel nothing. My vanity is completely suckered by that, and I'm really pleased. I felt much the same way about people like Little Richard, you know, and when I did meet them, I told him, you know, how much he meant to me, and how he really sort of, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be playing music, you know, and I don't think he really had any idea that, you know, I mean. I'm sure he didn't, because my music sounds nothing like Little Richard. But the fact is, he was the initial engine that got me started, you know. And receiving those things from other people for me is really great. It's fabulous, you know, and it's probably one of the nicest things that can happen to one as you kind of, you know, get older and you find you kind of settling in a different place in music or the art or whatever, you know.
Så berättar han också att inför att han skulle skriva den här nya plattan Hours så satt han gick igenom sina gamla låtar som han inte har hört på typ 20-30 år. Och det märks, så är det så att ni gillar till exempel Hunky Dory så kommer ni gilla Hours också.